Okay, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, everyone. Usually we start with saying, this time full-heartedly, dear partners in cooperation, colleagues and dear friends, welcome to the open annual meeting of the Finnish Institute at Athens. Last year was a bit of a celebration year for us, marking the round number of 40 years since the establishment of the Finnish Institute at Athens. But 41 is de facto, isn't it? It's more than 40. And we are of course very, very delighted and happy to have you here to mark another year of the Institute's activities. We are not far from the Institute, a few steps away. According to my stopwatch, actually, 3 minutes and 10 seconds. So you know that there were to go after these presentations. Now the following report that I'm going to give of the activities covers the period which runs from May 2024 to today. Κυρίες και κύριοι, αγαπητοί φίλοι, καλώς ήρθατε στην ετήσια συνάντηση του Φινλανδικού Ινστιτούτου Αθηνών, όπου θα παρακολουθήσετε την αναφορά των εργασιών μας τον προηγούμενο Μάιο του 2024 έως σήμερα. Είμαστε ιδιαίτεροι χαρούμενοι που σας έχουμε μαζί εδώ απόψε. Αρχικά, πριν ξεκινήσω με το πρόγραμμα, θα ήθελα να ευχαριστήσω θερμά το Υπουργείο Πολιτισμού και τις Εφορίες Αρχαιοτήτων για την αναγκαστή συνεργασία κατά τον τελευταίο χρόνο και όχι μόνο. The Finnish Institute is grateful for a huge number of people and institutions who have made our work possible, helped and supported us over the past year. As it is impossible to name everyone individually here, I trust you believe me that my heartfelt thanks go to all of the scholarly institutions in Greece, in Finland and elsewhere, and to many fantastic individuals, colleagues and friends we have had the pleasure to work with. Nevertheless, I take this opportunity to mention one special group of people, namely the so-called tukidelegaatio, in Finnish, support delegation of the Finnish Institute, which with their generous financial sponsorship made our archaeological work possible and entirely so. As always, we have had the pleasure to work together with the Embassy of Finland in Athens in various engagements during the last year, and are very grateful for the warm cooperation with their personnel. We have a great ensemble of people at the Institute, but I can really warmly express my warmest gratitude to each of you. I wish to mention here also our diligent and hard-working interns who actually run important operation at the Institute and who embody the future with their new skills and have brought young, energetic element into the life of the Institute. The Nordic Library, a unique institution which is run jointly by the 4 Nordic countries with Patrick Talatas in Rein, provided us again with the wonderful example of how the Nordic cooperation can be a functional daily practice and warm mutual support. Much valued Antti Lampinen, who worked as a senior academic librarian, left his post at the library in January, and Eddie Björklöf was chosen to his position. Very warm welcome, Eddie. Somewhere there, I know that. This year marks 30 years of the library, for the library, which is, of course, very much worth celebrating. And it will be addressed in a series of events, or in various events in the coming autumn. You will certainly hear about them. Institute runs also a hostel, a house with 13 flats of various sizes for students, scholars, and interns. Residencies for artists, one for writers and another for artists of visual, music and performance art domains are located in the building. This much used and in many ways elementary establishment for the Institute will serve us and run normally until the end of this year, before closing for general renovation for at least a year. The Institute's website was long due to a total remake. This work was now completed in the winter, and now our website is far easier to use and information on the Institute much more straightforward to discover. I will next briefly present you examples of our activities and start with the scholarly activities and events. As I mentioned, we celebrated 40th anniversary just a year ago with a bit more than usual festive program at the Academy of Athens with Professor Mika Kajava's talk on human divine encounters in the ancient world. And then we continued celebrating. What a funny year we had. Marking the Institute's 40 years in Helsinki with an open event organized together with our sister institute in Rome, Institutum Romanum Finlandiae, which celebrated its 40-year history in the same year with us. During the evening, we followed, for example, a panel discussion on the role of the institutes for the career and life of people who had been engaged with them over the years. Now, the following examples of our program of scholarly events, workshops and seminars we organized by us or alone or together with other scholarly institutions locally or internationally. We investigated, for example, approaches to Pythagoras and Plato in an international workshop which marked the centennial anniversary of Holger Teslev. We delved further into philosophical themes, concentrating on Aristotle in 2 workshops and rather recently, last month, which can easily be called our philosophy month. First on the concept of dynamism in and around Aristotle, and second on Aristotle's philosophy of life. I wish to signal out here one event because of the interest it's generated is very meaningful for us. Namely, the third public event organized together with the Effort of Antiquities of Theotida and Evrytania and Municipality of Domokos in February to present to the local community the result of the season's work at the Melitei archaeological program. It was yet again heartwarmingly well attended by the local people. We heard presentations by the members and specialists of a Melitei research team, and also presented a photo exhibition to the public entitled Isoi Keidrasis Perapatina Naskafi. The event assured us once again the welcoming and positive attitude towards our archaeological work in Theotida. Various topics have been researched under the auspices of the Institute and within its research programs. They span from themes in the study of ancient Greek religion, in production methods, leather and its role in particular, epigraphical research, studies on ancient Greek philosophy, especially of Plato and Aristotle, to the research of early modern and contemporary European history from the perspective of small states in the Nordic and the Mediterranean regions. The first Joni Hartel scholarship was for younger scholars on doctoral and postdoctoral levels, was established and launched. The scholarship was made possible by the unsparing donations in the memory of Joni Hartel, who was the central figure of the Institute's private sponsors and sadly passed away last year. The first scholarship holder for 6 months will start research period of 6 months at the Institute late autumn this year. On the publishing front, our electronic publication series Griphos saw its 3rd volume coming out. Robin Brunland takes an interesting look at how the 19th century traveller scholars' notes and sketches relate to modern library investigations. And the digitizing work of our main series papers and monographs of the Finnish Institute was recently completed, and now almost all 25 volumes are available electronically online. The 26th volume of the series is currently in the peer review process. A few words about educational program. Institute's traditional introductory course to ancient Greece for BA level students had, under the guidance of Lassi Jakola, once again an intense program of lectures, site visits and excursions during the 5 weeks in September-October. Just for the last week and also into this current week, we had the Helsinki University students of ancient Greek language and culture for a course program in Greece, led by Professor Maria Vieros, who is with us this evening, and Lassi Jakola. Further and continuing education of teachers have proved to be an important part of our teaching program. We had the pleasure to provide 2 summer education and teaching, two summer courses, one for the history and social science teachers, and the other to the education and teaching professionals with programs in ancient Greek past and also present, and get them acquainted with the ancient sites during the excursion programs. We put also on a cultural program a 2-day mini festival of new Finnish short films at Irida Cinema in Athens was a continuation of our earlier good experiences on presenting Finnish contemporary film in Greece, together with Finnish Film Foundation and enthusiastic Greek film specialists. 21 films were shown, together with masterclass discussion sessions with the 3 of the directors and the audience. In the domain of literature, we organized together with the Swedish Institute an evening of poetry and its translation through the works of the Swedish-Finnish poet Edith Södergran. And on the visual side of arts, an exhibition of the works of a young Finnish Greek artist, Pavlos Souflas, was put on display at the Institute last month. Finally, the so-called Menalios Tromas road running event was run again for the 6th time in October to promote the knowledge of the ancient Menalian games on the foot of the Mount Mainalos in the area where one of the Institute's archaeological program excavation site is situated. Within the outreach events, we participated together with the Finnish Embassy in the European Day of Languages to present the Institute and its activities in translation and language learning promotion, especially for children. In order to create a facility for a potential afterlife for our events, we have dedicated special effort to editing recordings into a repository and permanent library of our events for everyone to see and return to. Now to the main part of the report, that is archaeological fieldwork. Finnish Institute runs altogether 5 archaeological field programs, at the moment either with their field campaigns or having entered their publication phase. At Arakhamitai in Arcadia, a study of the earlier excavated material continued and the facilities for finds and storerooms were constructed. As such, of course, an important undertaking. I will now present the results of the other 4 programs and take you first to Melitea, where we had our 3rd field season, or 4th. The Melitea archaeological program is a cooperation between the area of antiquities of Biotis and Emeritania, and the Finnish Institute at Athens, directed by Konstantina Tsaroyanni and myself, with Stavros Lamproyannis as field director. Thank you for coming this evening here, Lambros. The site of Melitea, one of the most important city-states of Achaea, Phthiotis in antiquity, is situated on the northern foot of the Mount Orthes, near the mythically important river Enipeus, and east of the modern village with the same name. Through its strategic position, Melitea controlled the roads on the central passage connecting northern and southern Greece via Thessaly. As well, fortified Melitea was a dominant city in the area, especially during Hellenistic and Roman times, but the remains of its handsome archaic wall on the Acropolis testify that its history, and quite a lot of also objects and finds from the archaic period, testify that its history extended well to the earlier centuries as well. Melitea figures in several ancient written sources, Thucydides, Xenophon, Plutarch, Strabo, Polybius, mentioning it among others, and we have a number of long inscriptions indicating the arrangements of the Melitean polis. The ancient city is stacked on three large natural plateaus, that of the Acropolis, the Anopolis, and the Katopolis, divided by the inner cross wall. The Chora of the polis occupied a large area, the boundaries of which are known somewhat accurately thanks to these texts. Also thanks to remains visible on the site since the antiquity and to our new archaeological evidence. Due to the very large size of the site, which is approximately 70 hectares, a LiDAR investigation was carried out during the first field season in 2022. Apart from being a great help for getting an overview of the area in terms of archaeology, it has also provided material, for example, for archaeohistorical investigations. In his earlier mentioned Grifo's volume, Robin Grönlund studied the LiDAR results by comparing them with the German scholar Habbo Gerhard Lolling's remarkably detailed plan of the site in his sketches and notes depicting the visible architectural remains that Lolling observed when he visited the site and the place in 1882. Our work during the third field season in Melitea consisted of systematic excavations on the Acropolis, seen here somewhat as camouflaged under the green covers, if you can make it from the bushes. And then on the slide. The X-shaped test trenches excavated in 1971 and 2 by Alexandra Ioannidou, seen here before our program, as it was, and after the work season of 2024, that X shape was a starting point for the excavations on the Acropolis in general. Excavation trenches opened there in 3 areas are marked here as A, B, and C. 2024 season works extended in the areas of the 2 of these trenches shown in the darkened sections of the slide. Parts of 2 building complexes, K1 and 2, with individual structures have so far been exposed and documented. Rather well-built limestone walls exposed demonstrate at least 5 different building phases in the stratigraphy. 2 features in the season 24 are worth mentioning here. One in both building complexes. First in trench C, a square feature, and in trench A nearly square feature. The first one seems to have been constructed in the 2nd century BCE, only about 10 centimeters above the bedrock. Iron fragments were found in the corners of the feature. Iron and bronze, with iron and bronze strapped around these pieces. And also an iron ring fittings in the corners of the feature turned out. There were also several, quite a good number of large flat pieces of charcoal found lying perpendicular to each other within this feature. A possible interpretation of these finds is that the feature was covered by a wooden lid with a wood and bronze handle in the middle and iron fittings for a chain or rope to open it in the corners. The second feature in the neighbouring trench was constructed of small coarse stones. It yielded several almost intact vessels, cups and bulbous-shaped urgentarium, metal objects, and a sizable bronze metal fork, Kireakera, my absolute favourite of these, to be honest. And also coins which indicate the date of the use of the building mainly to the 2nd century BCE, lasting to the first half of the 1st century CE. Again in trench C, in the second room uncovered in the building, an interesting deposit consisting of 4 piglet jaws stacked on top of each other, and a deer horn was uncovered. We probably have here a foundation deposit placed on the spot when the wall was built. Again, a large number of pyramid and disc-shaped loom weights, some of them stamped, continue to be discovered in this building. The archaeological context suggests that they have been placed on a wooden shelf, which fell from a higher floor and scattered on both sides of the wall in a collapse. In general terms, majority of the finds can be dated to the late Hellenistic and early Roman periods. Large amounts of pottery, cooking and fine ware turned out in all contexts. To see some examples here. A few specialities could be singled out here. Molds for pottery production, here for rim decoration. We discovered we also had casts with metallurgical scenes. Seen here is the mold which was found earlier in 72 excavations, and now it's positive last year. And then another other mold that turned out with the Sphinx decoration. Otherwise, we had again fragments of stamped tiles, including also and a rather handsome archaic decorated tile. We had lamps, some well preserved, as well as metal objects of bronze, iron, and lead, including medical tools and jewellery. Some interesting bone objects as well. And then local, regional Thessalian and Roman coins, as well as sea mollusks that all turned out. Magnetic surveys were carried out in 2024 by Professor Grigoris Tokas from the University of Thessaloniki and his team in 5 locations. The results give clear indications of roads and city walls, foundations and rectangular shapes that could point to the buried ruins, edifices and vestiges. They also indicate a potential Great Street plan in the lower Polis area. Questions pertaining to natural and anthropogenic paleography and environment and its use in Melitea has been one of the main interests in the program from its beginning. Bio and zooarchaeological methods have so far been employed for studying these aspects of the past life. Macrobotanical and zoological remains are analysed in the Wiener Laboratory for Archaeological Science in Athens by Evi Margaretis, Katerina Papayani and their teams. Evi ran also an outreach event, a workshop of environmental archaeology for children at Neo-Monasteri preschool in the Domokos region. Lastly, but definitely not least interestingly, our epigraphical team continued their work on the new inscriptions found in Melitea in the beginning of our program. 2 manumission inscriptions, or palimpsest of them, written on 2 columns, have been 3D modeled using the so-called structure promotion modeling by Robin Rönnlund and Lambros Stavroyannis, together with Rick Potter from the University of Gothenburg. The texts are datable to the Augustinian period and name, among others, 2 earlier known strategoi of the Thessalian League and 1 earlier unknown strategos, Antonius. And a number of professions are mentioned. The most intriguing person appearing on this text is probably the horse doctor Hippiatros Paramonos, the son of Theophilos. I like that. The aim of our epigraphical team's work is to document and publish all the Melitean, the new old ones, and then the new Melitean inscriptions. The older ones were included early on in the IG. For our daily well-being during the field seasons, the beautiful lodgings in Domokos, with stunning view over the Thessalian plain, have played a big role. The Metropolitan and his house has provided us with that opportunity, and we thank for it very warmly. From Thessalian borders to Epirus, to Koroni-Tsumbari. The Koroni-Tsumbari excavation is a new Synergasia project directed by Björn Forsén from the University of Helsinki and Georgios Griginos from the Affiliate of Antiquities in Preveza. Björn Forsén's report is the following. The first field season was organized 2024. The low hill Tsumbari is located at the southernmost edge of the modern village Koroni, next to the Kokitos River. The location offers a great view all the way towards Ephyra, this Necromanteion. Koroni-Tsumbari was fenced by the Greek Archaeological Service in 2008. Currently, a team directed by Georgios Griginos uncovered the foundations of a rectangular early Hellenistic building. Roman and post-Byzantine finds were also reported. Remains of wall paintings still attached to Roman walls were uncovered, as well as late child grave, which was covered by a roof tile. The Hellenistic building is constructed of large rectangular limestone blocks, constructed immediately on top of the bedrock. There is a door opening with a threshold in the northwest. According to local villagers, blocks were taken from the site to be reused in recent buildings until the 1960s, indicating that the wall of the Hellenistic building were originally higher. We probably deal here with a fortified farmstead or a tower. After the abandonment of the building, the Roman constructed a small villa on top of it, partly reusing the Hellenistic walls as foundation, which can be dated to the 2nd or 1st centuries BC. Remains of wall paintings were found in 2008 in 2 rooms, which also have been preserved opus signinum floors. A third building phase can be discerned. This late building is differently orientated than earlier buildings and consisted of several rooms, some of them being destroyed. Remains of burials were found around the late building, partly predating it. According to local villagers again, there was once a church on the hill. However, the preserved late walls do not seem to belong to a church. Instead, the main orientation of the building would rather fit for a mosque. The late phase can be placed to the Ottoman period on the basis of the very badly preserved pottery. 3 trenches were excavated in 2024, as shown on the slide. In area A1, we uncovered the remains of a collapsed layer, partly consisting of Laconian roof tiles. the collapse originates from Hellenistic building. A bronze coin minted by the leak of the epirotes was found in this layer. Below it, a layer connected to the Hellenistic building turned up, containing prehistoric and very upgraded archaic and/or classical shards. Most of the stratigraphy of the array 2 consisted of a thick building debris, yet the upper surface of the limestone block was also looking like a column basis was also uncovered in it. Area B1 finally comprised room 1 in the center of the Hellenistic building. The room is demarcated by opus in Kertum walls, in Kertum I think it's pronounced, yet the northern wall has not been preserved. The northernmost part of the wall had some stage collapsed into the room. Part of the wall paintings attached to this wall were found. They belonged to the painting of the Second Pompeian style, dating to the 1st century BCE. Room itself turned out to be a kind of storage room with no wall paintings and only with a stamped soil floor. Mainly Hellenistic and Roman pottery was recorded. A layer below it was identical to the lowermost layer recorded elsewhere in the site. However, it yielded here more finds than the B1, containing archaic pottery, perhaps continuing into the 5th century BCE, as well as a bronze bull's head, part of the late 7th to 6th century BC cauldron, as well as a few prehistoric shards. This corresponds well with the results of the Nicopolis project during the 1990s, when Bronze Age, especially LBE settlements at most of the small hill surrounding the lower valley were recorded. It could be added that prehistoric pottery from Tumbari also included a handful of early Bronze Age shards. Even more surprising are the archaic remains, probably belonging to a previously unknown sanctuary, states Björn Forsen. So now a little bit over to the sea journey to Crete. Retinal Hilly Countryside project is an interdisciplinary undertaking directed by Björn Forsen and Anna Lucia Dakata. The aim of the project has been to investigate selected part of a 25 square kilometer large area located near modern Retinon, and to form a picture of a diachronic development of human presence and ecology of the place. During the 3 first years of intense field surveying, 3 large new sites were documented. Firstly, Ailias, close to the modern village Aios Konstantinos, where the majority of the finds dated to the late Bronze Age and the late Roman or early Byzantine periods were found. Then, secondly, east of the cemetery of the Zuridi finds resembling those of Ailias, and finally, Kefala Mundro, producing early Iron Age to classical early Hellenistic, but also Roman finds. During the 5th and last field season in 2024, we opened a few more trial trenches and carried out a small-scale geophysical prospection at Kefala Mundro. The main focus of the field survey was on the large and important site of Kefala, where we tried to define its borders more clearly. Parallel to the field survey, some finds of Kefala were studied with the combination of georadar and magnetometer. Interesting results came from the area close to the summit of the hill. The geophysical prospection revealed a large architectural structure here, and further anomalies can possibly be attached to the same building. Another large rectangular structure was identified towards the south. The orientation of it differs from that of the first one, thus probably indicating that they are of different date. 2 trial trenches were opened in this location, trench 2, in the corner of the rectangular structure revealed by the geophysical prospection. Walls shown on the slide have been constructed on top of a terrace fill. We excavated deeper only along the eastern side of the numbers 2 and 3, outside the building itself. Most of the pottery and glass collected dates to the mid or late Roman period, including a fragment of a late antique lamp. We are thus dealing with the late Roman building, probably a farmstead constructed on the summit of the Kefala hill. A new, larger level area seemed to have been created by terracing. The few archaic to classical finds recorded throughout the stratigraphy indicate that this spot had been settled already before the creation of the new, larger terrace. Trench 1 is located at the edge of the location. Excavated pottery dates to the archaic or classical period, mixed with the smaller component of early modern pottery, but nothing clearly Roman. Below this fill was a layer which yielded also early Iron Age to archaic and classical pottery, and an early spindle wall without any later intrusions. We also documented, there was the last one, and there you go. We also documented subterranean tunnels built for conducting water. The most interesting of them begins at the spring of Aia Fotini and ends to the fringes of Kefala at an Ottoman rectangular water basin surrounded by 6 columns, probably reused from a church or monastery. The tunnel, only partly preserved, runs at the depth of 60 centimeters below surface. Its walls are partly cut into the rock, partly built by large blocks. Dating tunnels like this is difficult. They may have been used for centuries or perhaps millennia, in between having prepared and rebuilt. Theoretically, our tunnel could originally have been built to bring water closer to the early Iron Age, to classical early Hellenistic site of Kefala. Right, Björn Forsén. The last field work project, we are almost there. Now we go across the seas from Crete to Naxos in Sicily. The 2024 field season comprised of 3 shorter field campaigns, which were part of the collaborative project Urban Landscape of Naxos in Sicily. The principal funding was from the foundation of the Finnish Institute, and Professor Jari Pakkanen reports as follows. The cityscape project of Naxos in Sicily was started in 2012, and it has concentrated on a thorough re-evaluation of the urban territory of the settlement, which was the first Greek colony in Sicily and founded in 734 BCE by oikists from Chalkis, Euboea, Evia, and Naxos in the Cyclades. The project has been carried out as part of the research collaboration agreement between the Archaeological Park of Naxos and Taormina and the Finnish Institute of Athens, and the third partner of the project has been the Finnish Institute in Rome. The project directors are Jari Pakkanen and Maria Constanza Lentini. The new fieldwork at Naxos has had 3 main aims: documenting the architectural remains unearthed since the 1950s, secondly carrying out geophysical prospection inside the city walls, and then excavating new small-scale test trenches at strategic locations. The 3 new trenches at crossroads A10, P6 and 7 are directly related to the earlier excavations at the crossroads of Platia A and Stenopos 7. The 4 crossroads are indicated here on the slide by yellow squares. In addition, further study of the domestic architectural material from a well excavated in 2015 and 16 has been carried out in the storerooms of the Archaeological Park of Naxos. An initial report of the material was published in 2022. Location of the well is indicated here by red circle. The excavated areas of the western and central sections of the city and the shipsets complex were photographed using the drone. The detailed 3D models are currently being processed. The slide shows Crossroads A7 with Mount Etna in the background. We reported last year at the Finnish Institute Annual the main results of the new trends at A7. The city was obliterated by Syracuse in 403 BCE and abandoned, but the new discoveries at Crossroads A7 indicate that there was a limited-scale reoccupation of the area in the early 4th century BCE. This has not been discovered in earlier excavations of the city. A very large house was built in the area A7, blocking Stenopos 7, so the classical street network could not have been used anymore in this phase. The main results of the Crossroads A7 excavations in 2019 and 33 are now published, and the reference is given on the slide. All the crossroads of the city excavated so far show that there was a monumental base in the same location in the southeast corner of each intersection. The excavations of the interior of the monumental base at Crossroads A7 revealed a last important Corinthian amphora. It is best interpreted as a part of the refoundation deposit of the early classical city, but it also served a practical function. The top part of the vessel is missing, and its bottom was packed, full of fist-sized stones. The likely interpretation of it, or interpretation is that it held in place the pole of the surveying instrument used for laying out the new orthogonal city grid in 480s BCE. The spot was then afterwards monumentalized by the building the large base in the intersection. Encouraged by the discoveries at A7, we continued excavations at crossroads of Platea B and Stenopoi 6 and 7. The later 5th century monumentalization of the Platea B bases matches the bases on Platea A, but the layers inside the bases were rather unexciting and contained quite little material. There were no central features such as the Corinthian amphora at A7. Moving back to the central street, Platea A, the stratigraphy below the base is more complex than at Platea B. The classical architecture is highlighted in green and archaic here on the slide in red. The classical base is built directly on top of the arcade house wall. This time, there is no amphora inside the base, but there is a rectangular void with stones packed tightly around it. Its dimensions match the size of a roof beam, and its location the amphora at Crossroads A7. So here we have another potential position for a surveying instrument. The new drone of the Finnish Institute was extensively used in December to document the archaeological park. In the slide, a partial reconstruction of shipsets is superimposed on the textured 3D model of the complex. The most important people rarely get enough thanks for the exceptional work they carry out. Peppe Micelli has carried out the new excavations inside the crossroads bases. The unique domestic plaster material from the classical well excavated in 2015 and 16 has been analysed by Alice Clinch from the Cornell University, and she has also continued with the archaeological and scientific study of other material in Naxos storerooms. Plaster is not preserved in the typical soil conditions at Naxos, so until our excavations, the largest fragments discovered at Naxos in Sicily have been occasionally tiny crumbling pieces, writes Jari Pakkanen.